Hello, well today I'm in the village of Nettleham, a picturesque little village situated some 4 miles north of Lincoln. Its most notable feature is this charming little beck populated by ducks and moorhens. Hello there. It's a lovely place for a walk, and not surprisingly, it's very popular with artists and photographers. Now, the first reference to Nettleham was in the Domesday Book of 1086, and the village church of All Saints dates back to Anglo-Saxon times and has been added to over the centuries. Now, despite these lovely surroundings on such a beautiful summer's day, I'm here to tell you of a dark chapter in the history of the village. I'm in Nettleham churchyard and I'm here to find a very unusual listed building. And this is the listed building. It's a grim reminder of man's inhumanity to man. The tombstone reads, Thomas Gardner, postboy of Lincoln, barbarously murdered by Isaac and Thomas Hallam, January 3rd, 1732, aged 19. Now, on that fateful day, postboy Thomas Gardner was waylaid on the outskirts of Nettleham by brothers Isaac and Thomas Hallam. They robbed him of his post bag and ordered him to blow his brass post horn, whereupon the brothers told him that he had just sounded his death peal. They murdered poor Thomas by cutting his throat from ear to ear, and then they cut the throat of his horse. The Hallam brothers were no strangers to murder. On the previous evening, the 2nd of January, in Foldingworth near Market Raisin, they robbed and murdered 18-year-old William Wright. It was said that his throat had been cut so deeply that his head was almost severed. The brothers were suspected of the murders, and a description of them was circulated with a substantial reward for information leading to their arrest. And just days later, they were caught in the city of Salisbury, where ironically they'd been arrested and were awaiting to stand trial for robbery. But on this occasion, their victim had escaped unharmed. When charged with murder, they admitted to the killings and added that their one regret was not claiming more victims before being caught. The evil pair were clapped in irons and taken back to Lincoln to stand trial. As they entered the city, they were greeted by jeering, angry crowds and postboys blowing their bugles in remembrance of their murdered colleague. It'll come as no surprise that after a short trial at Lincoln Castle, the Hallam brothers were found guilty and sentenced to death. On the 16th of March, 1732, they were both taken to the spot where they had murdered Thomas Gardner, which is now covered by this roundabout on the busy A158. Isaac Hallam was hanged here from a makeshift gallows, while his brother was forced to watch as he slowly strangled to death. In accordance with the custom of the time, his body was then gibbeted here at the scene. It is said that Thomas Hallam fainted as he viewed the proceedings. He was then taken to Foldingworth, to the scene of the other murder, where he suffered the same fate. And legend has it that no grass will grow around the grave of Thomas Gardner. But I'm sure that has more to do with the shade of the trees than anything supernatural. Now, I bet you wouldn't suspect that this unassuming little village has a history of satanic worship. Well, that might be a slight exaggeration, but according to a former vicar of Nettleham in the early 1960s, the evil influence of an ancient deity haunted the village. It started in September 1961 when workmen digging a drainage ditch in the garden of 13 Willowfield Avenue unearthed a Roman tablet bearing an inscription dedicated to Mars, Lord of the Sacred Grove. Now, Mars was the pagan god of war. Archaeologists and historians were excited by the find, but not so the Reverend H.G. Harrington, the then vicar of Nettleham. In the Lincolnshire Echo of September 1961, the Reverend said the name of Nettleham meant a place of pagan worship, and he wondered how much of the evil connected with pagan worship in the parish had been eradicated. And there were stories about a supposed witch in Nettleham only 50 years ago. And he pointed to the fact that missioners who visited Nettleham in 1953 spoke of an air of evil about the parish. When the body of a suicide was found just yards from the sacred grove of the Druids where the stone was discovered, the Reverend Harrington gave a sermon to his congregation on the possibility of an evil atmosphere being left behind as a result of pagan worship. Well, if there was an evil atmosphere present in Nettleham 60 years ago, it's certainly not here now. Unfortunately, I don't know the present whereabouts of the Roman tablet that was found here. It's possible that it might be in the Collection Museum in Lincoln. Well, that was my look into some of the dark history of Nettleham. As usual, thanks ever so much for joining me again, and take care. I'll see you next time.